hard to say because I'm part of that group that's part of the breeding. I'm not in that discussion of who's going to be making the decisions in terms of who's coming onto the field and who's going to be managing the club and so forth. I'm part of the group that is in the support stage, and a very small part of that group that I'm very fortunate to be part of. I think everybody is given an opportunity to get the team going in the right direction. And as far as from what I read into this question is the fact that we're pointing right to the front office for all the Galaxy's problems. If that were the case, they would have stayed the course through all those problems, and the problems would continue to multiply. They have obviously made changes, and a lot of changes, to try to find the right mix once again. And right now, it's still in the mixing bowl. So we're not giving him any credit for Jonathan Bond, and then we're not going to give him any credit for Dejan Joveljic as well, who is proven to almost be a regular starter for this club, and we'll find out tonight if he does get into the first 11. Yeah, there's hits and misses. 17 players come into the league, into the team, and some of those guys aren't going to make it, and some of those guys aren't going to live up to the expectations that the coaching staff may or may not have had, and some of those guys are going to be surprises, because I think to a man, Raheem Edwards has been a surprise. He was not expected to be the starting left back for the Galaxy this season. He was supposed to be a depth player, and he's turned out to be arguably an all-star player for the Galaxy this season. It's an ebb and a flow. And yeah, we'd like this team to be on top of the Western Conference. It has opportunities to be close to the top of the Western Conference, and it's stubbed its toe. Tonight is another opportunity to close that gap. And morale is low. I understand it, and I think this is all a product of where we are in the communications age, in the social media age, where we can be at the highest of highs and we can be at the lowest of lows. Because not long ago, especially even in this season, we were counting on how many wins this Galaxy team was going to have. They were off to a great start, and before the loss to Sacramento, you were counting on the U.S. Open Cup championship. And it doesn't happen like that, and we can't just count on things to happen before they do happen. Teams stub their toes, bad plays happen. Minnesota almost gave points back against the Galaxy when they should have won that game really easily by halftime, even with a man up in that game and the way it was being officiated. So I think it's a fragile time, and I understand why that is, but we also need to understand that the championships don't come easy, and the 5 championships that a lot of people are maybe sad about or disgruntled about that the team keeps on pointing back to. I think the realization is happening here as the league matures and as everything gets a little bit more difficult, that each championship is very, very difficult to win. And to have 5 of them, it's a big deal. And yeah, this Galaxy team needs to live up to that level. And as every day goes by, it becomes more and more difficult to do so. Yeah, and I think every team around the Galaxy is feeling the same way right now. There's pressure. There's pressure. And this is what happens when you come out of a long break like the international break and you don't immediately take a step forward. And the teams that took a step forward was a giant leap forward and got them all back into the races. All of a sudden, Montreal, I should say, was at the top of the Eastern Conference before the weekend. And while they've had a nice start to the season, you never thought Montreal would be in first place at this point of the campaign, and that's what that first big step was for them. And for the Galaxy, unfortunately, they have stubbed their toe. They were going into the break, the arrows were pointing high, they came out of the break, and they obviously were dull. And that's where we are right now. I think the midseason grade for the Galaxy right now is a C+. It's fair to say that. I think where they stand right now, coming into this match in 7th place after tonight, should they win tonight and get all the points in this one, then you're looking at a team that's in 4th place, tied for 4th, and because of the tiebreaker against Nashville in the head-to-head, whatever you want to call it, they will be ahead of Nashville in 4th place in the Western Conference. But there's a long way to go. But this win tonight, should they get it, would be a huge step in the right direction, because we all know what this week brings. two big games. Tonight's game, July 4th, is always big, and of course the game on Friday across town against LAFC is always a big match, and obviously with the players that are going to be showing up and making their debuts, it'll get a national spotlight.
You think you're living woke, but you're just blowing smoke. Living in a fantasy where blacks are clad skinnily. The powerful explain to the powerless folk why they are best prepared to lead humanity. Powerful, not accountable, totally toned.